What's good, retro gamers? So I've watched about 5 of these top 10 videos of a bunch of people in this retro Master System community, and everybody actually picked a lot of more old school retro games than I was expecting. The community really is full of a lot of retro enthusiasts, which is really cool. So today, instead of actually picking a top 10, I knew that I knew immediately once I tried to pick the first 2 games that I wasn't going to be able to pick a top 10. So to me, I'm going to kind of do more of a top 10 moments, top 10 sort of collections or experiences maybe that I had with either a console or a game, and then just kind of show off a little bit of what I have. So in addition to collecting Sega Master System and just games in general, I also collect guides. So I'm going to be going over, showing you guys some guides. But I don't want to be taking up too much of your time because I hate long intros. So the first thing, and I'm going to go a little bit chronologically. So the first 3 I could not decide between, but when I was younger and what started everything off with Twitter, kind of culminating it and really pushing me to the max with the collection, is the Sega Master System. So I inherited this. I was born in 87, so these games, 88, 86, 86. So these games basically, I wasn't born when 2 of these 3 games even came out. So I inherited these maybe when I was like 7, 8 years old. So I couldn't really pick between all 3 of them. So I couldn't pick one between the 3, if I could speak. So I had to go with Action Fighter, Astro Warrior, and Bomber Raid. I would say that these 3 games at the front of the Master System library probably defined the games that I played the most. So I don't need to go too much into those. We've been playing all these games. Next, I'm going to have to go with the original Pokemon Game Boy games. This is the Game Boy Advance guide for Fire Red and Leaf Green. I don't know, I think my copy of Pokemon Red is in my Game Boy, which is somewhere in storage still. So anyways, I got my copy of Yellow in my Super Game Boy and my copy of Pokemon Blue. I put these stupid stickers on both of my copies. My name's on the back of my Super Game Boy with my home phone number, as kids used to stupidly do back in the day. And yeah, I got Pokemon Red first on Christmas. I vividly remember it in my grandmother's living room, which she's now moved houses. And that was awesome. I did have the guide for it. I don't know where the guide's gone all these days, but it got beat up. Next, I'm going to go with... So I kind of grew up with the Master System first, and I had an Intellivision at some point, but I never played that because it was... I couldn't appreciate anything of that when I was younger. So the next best thing that I graduated to was, if you couldn't tell by this, was the Super Nintendo. And I gotta put it on the list. It's Super Mario World. I mean, hasn't everybody who had a Super Nintendo played this game? And then also I have to include Super Mario All-Stars because it has Super Mario 3. Super Mario 3. And I feel like with just these 2 alone, I mean, you can spend hundreds of hours, like, throughout your lifetime just playing it constantly. I know when I was younger, I did all the Star Road things. I literally unlocked everything, and I think there's like a little star next to the number when you unlock everything. I could be mistaken. So the next thing, and you know what I did? You know what? Here's a good time to start it. The next one, because it's on top, is NBA Hang Time. I couldn't decide between, and I'll go over some honorable mentions here. Tony Hawk and SmackDown were fucking awesome. Tony Hawk, the remakes were awesome. It sucks that Vicarious Visions got put onto some other games that, aren't Tony Hawk. But anyways, NBA Hang Time, NBA Jam, and then maybe the coolest of all of them, in my opinion, was the NBA Street Games on the PlayStation 2. I wish these came back. Badly wish these came back. These were awesome. I used to go to my great-grandparents and I would take my PlayStation over, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I would take over there when I was younger and I would play them constantly. Along with like the ECW wrestling games. Those were awesome. Alright, next. I remember I had this game and I can't seem to find it. I thought I bought it for like $50 a couple years ago. I'm sure it's like over $100 now. But when I was, I think, 12 or 13 in 1999, I think it was, my uncle got me this game for Christmas. And one of my most vivid defining memories as a gamer has been going into the diner in the beginning of this game and some sort of pterodactyl bird crashes through the front window, and I literally got so scared and jumped so fast off of my bed or whatever I was on that I swear I had my first muscle pull in my back from trying to turn this game off so quickly once that happened. I was so fucking scared of this game. So to this day, that's one of my most vivid memories as a kid. And I have it on the PS3, the digital version. The next game, this is probably the game that turned me into a gamer. It's not a game I don't think I could play nowadays. But I used to go to my best friend's house, like before school. We would play Diddy Kong Racing. His stepdad at the time was playing this game called Final Fantasy VIII. And I didn't really know anything about it, but I think at some point I thought it was cool. And I was able to either, I don't know if I ever borrowed it or if I just tried to buy it. But this was the first game I ever passed 100 hours in. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. This was the first game that I ever passed 100 hours in. I think I got to about 109. And I think the counter goes over. So it doesn't count to like 109. It goes back to like 9 hours or something. I don't know. Anyways, this game was amazing. All of the Final Fantasy games with their cutscenes and cinematics were fucking awesome. I feel like I used this guide, but it doesn't look all that used. Because of this game, I became a huge Final Fantasy fan for pretty much my entire life. And now I know that I will never recapture that magic again with these long, drawn-out RPGs. What can be said? I mean, I loved Final Fantasy IX. I loved the next game that I'll be sharing. Hopefully I have these around the same time. The next game that I'll be sharing, Final Fantasy X. And I wanted to keep it to one game in a series, but this is part of a collection of Christmas 2001, I think it was. 2002, perhaps. I went into Circuit City, if anybody is from the United States and is aware of that. It used to be a competitor with Best Buy. I was under the age of 18, and somehow I went in and I bought Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy X, and Grand Theft Auto 3. Believe it or not, the game I was most excited for, I believe, was Final Fantasy X, because I was a huge fan of 8. 9 was fucking awesome. And I never really got into 7 until like a little later. I've still never beaten 7 in my life. I beat the remake, part 1, which sucks. But I went into it thinking that, I don't know, Devil May Cry looked cool. I loved it. I don't like Devil May Cry 5 or anything like nowadays. The reboot obviously sucked. But Final Fantasy X, I got the guide for 3. I do have the guides for Devil May Cry 2, 3, and 4 behind me. I know at one point I had the guide for 1. I don't know what's happened to it. But believe it or not, out of these 3 games, I was most excited for Final Fantasy, and I'll tell you what, this game blew my mind. And I think I liked Vice City more back in the day. When the definitive edition came out, I started playing Vice City. It had some terrible physics and some shit in it that I was just like, this actually just kind of sucks. So I went back and I started playing Grand Theft Auto 3, and I've actually put a decent amount of hours into Grand Theft Auto 3, the definitive. So it's pretty cool. Hopefully they remake Grand Theft Auto 4, and hopefully one day Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. All right, so about, I think in the same time frame. Okay, this one's a little after, but about the same time frame. I had gotten into building my own computer. So my first foray into computer gaming, everybody used to pirate games back in the early 2000s, but the games that actually stood out, Diablo 2 and HalfLife 2, these games are masterpieces. I tried to play Diablo 2 Resurrected, or whatever the fuck it's called. I can't put any more hours into Diablo 2. We used to have sleepless nights doing bail runs. And a bunch of my friends, that's the only game I've ever played with friends online. I'm not a Call of Duty player. I don't play with multiplayer anything. Because the people who play multiplayer, that's all they do is play multiplayer. And obviously I'm a collector, I play tons of games. But anyways, these games were fucking awesome. Half-Life 2 changed first-person shooter. I don't know. It was just amazingly revolutionary at the time, and I just tried to actually open up the orange box, which is over there. So I have the orange box too. Should be holding that up. But anyways, the next one, and the next kind of moment in time that changed gaming for me, I would have to say, is when the PlayStation got trophies. Specifically these 2 games, Dead Space 1 and Uncharted 1. I am crushing difficulty away from getting the platinum in Uncharted. I've beaten it, a couple times. I rarely ever replay games, but Uncharted was definitely, it gave me that sense of Indiana Jones that I didn't really get with Tomb Raider or things like that. But yeah, obviously there's been 5 Uncharted games now with the Lost Legacy, and I'm sure they're probably working on something now. So this is where it started, and in 2008, trophies came out for these games, and Dead Space was exactly what I was looking for, because it had that Resident Evil kind of, what Resident Evil was out at this time? 2008. So it's Resident Evil 4 was already out. I don't know. Probably Resident Evil 5 when they were going to the Africa and those weird zombies. But anyways, this filled a void that was gone and is now gone again with the closing of Visceral Studios. But Dead Space was awesome. I am a crushing, difficult, impossible, whatever the difficulty is, the hardest one. I am a completion away from getting the platinum trophy. It's just too hard. But maybe I've always wanted to go back to one of these 2 games and beat it on the hardest difficulty. But it was just never really worth it to me. But I would like the platinum in those. Alright, second to last set here. This is probably my most proud platinum, because I didn't really get to cheese it at all. Dark Souls. I bought Demon's Souls in college, maybe in 2008, probably around the same time Uncharted and Dead Space came out. I bought it used in Philadelphia in college, and I fell in love with the game, and then I lost my progress when I traded in my PlayStation 3, my fat PlayStation 3, for one of the slimmer ones, because it sounded like a fucking jet. And now here I am, still wanting to go get a backwards compatible PS3 like I used to have, the fat one with the 4 USBs that played PS2 and PS1 games. Anyways, I was never able to beat the last boss, and it left a sour taste in my mouth because upgrading that PlayStation, I could not transfer the Demon Souls data, and I was never going to replay that game again to get to the last boss. So when Dark Souls came out, I was all over it. I had the platinum trophy. I beat it 3.5 times. You have to get to Sif, the dog, beat the boss, and I I'm a person who doesn't rewatch TV episodes. I don't rewatch movies, and I don't replay games really. I can barely even beat a game once. But I beat this game 3 times, and it's pretty fucking incredible when you go in there. You gotta like have a whole research book prepared for all of the boss souls and how you want to use those for your items and things like that. But this game changed gaming and brought about a whole new subgenre of video game franchises. You know, it's like Soulsborne. So this is awesome, and it was also I also did that at a time in my life when it was the only time I would have ever been able to play a game like that. The next one is, well, fuck it. The next two, Metal Gear Solid 5 and Death Stranding. I saved the best for last. So I would probably have to say I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is my favorite game of all time. And I love Kojima, and I love Death Stranding, and I love the worlds he builds, and I love the characters that he creates. I love the designs of all of his things. I love that Psycho Mantis fucked with you. I just love everything about Metal Gear Solid. And I literally almost feel like I'm gonna shed a tear. But I didn't want to pick Metal Gear 1 or the Twin Snakes remake or anything else. Metal Gear Solid 5 with the open world, fuck Konami, rushing this game out, kind of being unfinished. I put like 225 hours into this game. And I mean, just even after you do like all of the level missions, doing the FOB bases, I actually did shit, long into the story. So Metal Gear Solid 5, I think, is probably my favorite game of all time. And Death Stranding more recently. I don't know. I think my favorite part about Death Stranding is just building zip lines and then doing deliveries from one place to another, and then ultimately doing it for so long that my zip lines end up corroding because I couldn't repair them. So, something about these games, I have the platinum in Death Stranding. I don't have the platinum in Metal Gear Solid because I didn't want to do all like the S ranks or A ranks or whatever they were. But yeah, I got a big ass book that I was going through to try to get some of the trophies and achievements. I think I need 2 more trophies for the platinum. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5, I actually was playing it when I was unemployed, in between jobs. And I put like 200 some hours into it instead of applying to jobs. And then I got the Art of Death Stranding. I got the Death Stranding Collector's Edition. I got this little cardboard cutout Walmart thing for Death Stranding. I got Sam Porter Bridges figure over there. I got a reverse trike model kit up there. So Death Stranding, Metal Gear Solid, I would probably say these are like my pinnacle of gaming. I know a lot of people think Death Stranding sucks and it's just a walking simulator, but I mean, that walking simulation is pretty good. But yeah, so that's about what I got. Sorry I couldn't really pick 10, and this probably got longer than I wanted it to. But yeah, these are about the games that kind of defined me as a gamer and the moments that defined me um, in the history of gaming. So thanks for anybody who actually stuck around.